MMPTV.
Welcome to another episode of MMPTV. My name is Audrey Trahan, and today I have Eileen Duffey. Eileen Duffey is a public school nurse. Eileen, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what it's like being a school nurse?
I love being a school nurse. I've been a school nurse for 17 years. I worked as a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia prior to that, and I liked that as well, but I found my home and my true vocation, you could call it, in school nursing.
Okay. What's a typical day like for you in a school, being a nurse?
Well, a typical day, there is no typical day, but we start out every day with a schedule. We're supposed to have a schedule because we're actually paid by the state of Pennsylvania for what we do, and that is to meet mandated programs. So we have a schedule to try to get that to happen. But the day varies every day with who comes in my office.
Okay. What's state mandated?
Well, that's the underlying purpose of the school nurse, is to support learning, and you have to make sure all the students who are in the classes are able to learn. That means they have to be able to see, for example. So many students don't have glasses, so we screen students for vision. We screen students for hearing. When students come to school, you don't really know whether they may need a particular educational program to meet their needs, and you have to start with health, and that's what we do.
Okay. And what kind of illnesses do you treat with the children?
Well, we could see anything that could happen, including things that happen to be rare, but for the most part, the most common things we see are stomach aches, headaches, anxiety, somatic complaints, kids who might be sad about something, and that always comes out in a somatic complaint. Most students wouldn't raise their hand and say, may I go to the counselor, for example, because I'm depressed, or something happened at home, because their bodies will tell them something. They'll tense up, they'll get a stomach ache, and they show up at the nurse.
Okay. Why did you decide to become a school nurse?
Well, I had been a pediatric nurse, and I always loved working with children. Right. And prior to becoming a nurse, I was a teacher, so that was a natural mix for me. A friend of mine was a school nurse, and at a certain point in the district, they were hiring a large cluster of nurses, and she approached me, which made me feel that I was the right match for that and had me look into school nursing, and it was a great decision.
Right now in Philadelphia, we're seeing drastic school budget cuts affecting many workers, students, parents, and teachers. Would you like to talk about what's going on right now with the school nurses in Philadelphia and how it would affect the nurses and our children?
Yeah, I've been very involved with the nursing layoffs that happened, and that started just about this time last year. When we finished our last school year, we finished with about 47 fewer nurses, and in December, an additional 47. So we're running about 100 nurses fewer, and we have about 185 left, but that was very significantly changed the job that I just described. Right. When you asked the question, I answered it in the ideal, not what's happened during the past year. I've continued to do the same job, but it's diminished because I'm in 3 schools now.
So what's the ratio between children and nurses? Well,
there's an old law in Pennsylvania, 1949, which set the student-to-nurse ratio to 1,500 to 1. And we know that the world we're living in is not the same as it was in 1949.
Right.
So in recent years, the school district knew that, and when there was more money available, the school district was able to adjust that. And as of this time last year, we were operating about 750 students to 1 nurse.
Right.
You couldn't always be full-time in every school, but you had a caseload that was manageable. Still not ideal, but the National Association of School Nurses recommends 750 to 1, so I'll go with that. Now we're doing double that. We're back to this. The lawmakers have decided if we only have to provide 1,500 to 1 by law, that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're doing right now, which is not optimal in any way.
it sounds like the priority is not seeing that the kids' needs are taken care of. It seems like they're just trying to get away with the minimum just to save a buck.
Oh, exactly, exactly. And these are the times that we are living in, and it's very troubling. It's troubling across the board for our society that we're shortchanging our students in this way. Think about the parents.
Right.
Now, we can talk about that for a minute. It's
Right.
really important.
Right.
Think about the fact that kids are going, you leave your child in school for the day, you go off to work, you're desperately trying to pay the rent, get the bills paid, and you think that there is a system in place that your child is going to be safe.
Right.
I hate to disappoint people right now. That is a fragile system, and it has been decimated by these nurse layoffs. So parents are being called inappropriately to pick their kids up because administrators have to do something. So you might be a person who doesn't get benefits at your job.
Right.
You may be working at a fast food store. If you have to leave McDonald's to go pick your child up because somebody thinks they're sick. See, research has shown that nurses get 9 out of 10 students back in the classroom.
Okay.
Okay? So 9 out of 10 would go back into the classroom and finish their day with their parent, maybe with a note sent home or a brief phone call. That parent's day has been completely unraveled. That could have to do with the rent being paid that month. That
Right.
could have to do with the family being evicted. That could have to do with the parent losing their job. This is a serious, serious public problem.
We know that it's not just school nurses who are facing these drastic budget cuts. Are you connecting with some others, people who are being directly affected, like parents, students, teachers, and other workers in the school district?
Oh, absolutely. These budget cuts are affecting everyone. They're affecting the citizens of Philadelphia on the street, whether they're parents, whether they're union members, whether they're people looking for jobs. These budget cuts are really, I guess they're just devastating. And we have been working to get the word out in that way. I don't know if you know that we've been rallying in front of the school district. We've been communicating. I've been communicating with pastors in churches. Everywhere I see an inroad to educate about these issues, I've been out there.
When's the next rally?
The problem with the rally is we did have to stop the rallies after 23 weeks for some reasons of health of a few of the nurses that were very involved in leadership in this protest that we've been doing. But we are continuing to work on the issue and communicating with people. I was discussing this same topic today with the Center for Public Policy. So I'm staying on the topic, and I think the rallies may resume in September, but sometimes you have to shift gears, and that's what we've done recently.
Okay. Shifting gears, and like, what else are you guys doing to bring for this fight?
Well, for example, we're watching the schedule of the School Reform Commission. I'm doing a meeting with about 8 educators at my home on Monday. We're going to be talking about the summer and what we're going to be doing to stay on the topic.
You haven't told me about Eileen. Like, who's Eileen?
I am very passionate about things that matter to me.
Right.
I think 23 Wednesdays in a row, rallying, jumping up and down, and screaming about something that really matters to me says a little bit about who's Eileen. I love kids.
Okay.
I like to teach them something, and I'd like to make them laugh. I like to enjoy getting up in the morning, and this is the best job I ever had. I'd like to get it back. Working in one school and having relationships with kids is real important to me.
Right. And like you being a nurse, nursing jobs are plentiful.
Right?
And you choose to stand here and fight for our children.
Right.
And not only are you fighting for our children, you're also fighting for our community.
Right.
I think that is so awesome. Like, to me, you're a hero.
This is the best
Right.
job I ever had.
Okay.
I love this job, even though the system is way less than perfect. And I
Right.
have a real sense that everybody should have the right to a school nurse,
Right.
And I'd like to stay in this kind of work. Yes, I could leave and get another job.
Right.
I have credentials to do that. I'm lucky, and I bet I could still sell myself to get a job elsewhere.
Right.
But my preference is for us to have better funding for school nurses and for me to have one community that I worked with and maintain my relationships with my students and get back to doing that.
Well, Eileen, I would like to thank you so much for coming. I mean, this was so awesome, like sitting here having this conversation with you. But one more thing, before we go. What would you like to leave people with? What would you like to have people think about?
I think the viewers need to be thinking about the fact that our democracy is fragile, and it's something that you have to work at every day. You have to commit to being knowledgeable about what's going on there. You have to commit to speaking up. You have to take your option to vote very seriously, but not just on voting day, on election day. Every single day, you have to take this seriously, or you get the democracy you deserve, and I think we're in trouble right now, and there's a lot of blame to go around. So I would just have that be something that people think about.
Okay. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Thank you so much, Audra. I really appreciated being with you today.
Oh, thanks.